My husband and I moved into this neighborhood about 2 years ago, after we got married. We haven't been able to celebrate Halloween the last 2 years due to COVID, it's our favorite holiday, so this year we decided to go all out. We filled our yard with tombstones and skeletons. All of our bushes and trees are wrapped in fake webbing, the tree closest to the street, having a huge 6-foot spider dangling from its limbs. The final touch was a huge rope web that we added extra webbing to fill it out, that hangs from our roof all the way out to the street. We're not into gory stuff, so we got a couple of fuzzy spider decorations to place around the yard. It took us hours to decorate, and we were so excited, my husband looked like a kid in a candy store. Yesterday while my husband was at work, I heard a knock on my door. It turned out to be my neighbor, he looked absolutely frantic. I didn't even have a chance to ask what was happened when he yelled in my face, "You need to take all this crap down." I was really taken aback, this neighbor has always been very nice to us. I've seen other houses decorate in the past few years, maybe not to this extent, but I know it's not against our homeowners association rules. I decided to ask if that was his issue just in case. He looked at me completely dumbfounded and started going off, "Cut the crap. You need to put all this away. My wife has arachnophobia. Your yard practically gave her a heart attack this morning." I kind of screwed up here and laughed. I didn't think our purple fuzzy spiders with big googly eyes would even scare the little kids in the neighborhood. "You're pulling my leg, right?" He got in my face and practically stepped into my house. "You're going to scare my wife to death. If you and your husband don't take all this crap down, I'm reporting you. I'm a retired police officer and I can make this a real problem for you." I started seeing red and getting really uncomfortable because I was completely home alone and my husband wouldn't be home for hours. Even if I wanted to take it down, it would be impossible without his help. "Listen, this our first time getting to celebrate Halloween in our house and we really put a lot into our yard. We don't even have any gory or graphic decorations. None of our spiders even look realistic. Can we please not do this right now? I don't give a crap. Take it down or else." He didn't really give me a chance to answer, he just started walking back to his yard. Our decorations are not scary, other neighbors have even said our yard is cute. We also spent a few $100s decorating, it would be a huge waste to take it all down. I haven't told my husband yet because I know he's petty and will throw a fit and probably decorate with even more spiders out of spite. I refuse to take down our decorations, this is really important to us, and I just want to enjoy my favorite holiday with my husband. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Firstly because this guy was incredibly aggressive and threatening instead of making a polite request for accommodation, and secondly, while I appreciate people have irrational fears, lots of people put up spiders around Halloween. If his wife can't even walk past your house with its cartoonish spiders, she may want to talk to someone. I recommend you record this incident and invest in a front door camera in case this man comes to harass you again. I live in the United Kingdom, so Halloween isn't that massive, but when I see a fully decorated house I have to remind myself that standing there looking at it makes me seem a bit weird. I just love seeing decor and people going all out and having fun. Don't let him crush it. I would love to come to America on holiday when it's Halloween just to have the experience. In this world, I would tend to say that if you like something and it's not harming others, then just go for it, because in this time happiness isn't doing often, so you have to grasp it when you can. It's impossible to please everyone. He was being ridiculous. My husband and I are phobic of snakes. Despite our phobia, if a neighbor used snakes in their Halloween decorations, we wouldn't like looking at them, but we also wouldn't complain about it. There's a family in our town that goes all out decorating the outside of their home year-round. The decorations change every few weeks. Sometimes we like what they do, sometimes we don't. But it's their yard or house. We wouldn't dream of giving them grief over any of the decorations. That said, they may or may not be able to sway the homeowners association. Personally, I wouldn't take the stuff down unless the homeowners association ends up requiring their removal. So, my family does this thing, where the person whose birthday is coming up creates a list of gifts they would like for their birthday, and then everyone else just picks something from it and buys it for them. We do it because my dad is really bad at picking gifts, and this made it easier for him. It's my younger sister's Lily, 17, birthday in November, and she gave us the list a week ago. First thing I noticed was that the list was full of expensive stuff, which is weird because we have an unspoken rule that the list has to contain things that are also reasonably priced. I mentioned it to my older sister, Jenny, and she was confused because she said there were reasonably priced gifts on Lily's list. I asked her to show me the list she was sent, and it was completely different to mine. I thought there was a mistake, so I asked Lily to resend me the list, but she again sent me the list with all of the expensive things on it. Now I'm thinking about getting her a gift from the list she sent Jenny instead, but I know how Lily is, and she will potentially have a tantrum over this. Since we started doing the list, nobody has ever not bought a gift from the list they were sent. When we were younger, we would make different lists for our parents versus for the siblings, but the gift given would always be from the list, so buying her something from Jenny's list would be breaking the family tradition, which could ruin the good thing we have going. Would I be the idiot? Not the idiot. She's 17, she's old enough to know what she's doing and that it's wrong. Ask her why you got a different list than the others, and if she kicks up a fuss, tell your parents about what she's doing. She's being greedy and needs to be told not to stick her nose in other people's finances. Your fiancé bought his in-laws a nice gift for their anniversary. That doesn't make Lily entitled to expensive gifts, and she shouldn't assume your financial status over one generous gift you didn't even buy. Honestly, talk to your sister, ask why you got a different and much more expensive list than that sent to your other sister. If you don't get a reasonable answer, then talk to your parents. You will be the idiot if you don't talk about it first. Personally, I send different lists because I know my family's approximate budgets and they get related lists. If she has sent you a list well over your planned budget, just tell her these things are out of your budget and you need a list with more reasonable items on it. She is taking something meant to make gift giving easier and intentionally trying to take advantage of it. The thing is, she shot herself in the foot, as there isn't a way this plays where she isn't caught. You either get her something from her list she sent you, and your parents question why you got her such an expensive item that wasn't on her list, and you show your list, or you get something from the list she sent your sister. She throws a tantrum about how you didn't stick to the list, and your sister backs you up. I, 23, have been an Instacart driver since March 2020, and it's been a lucrative side business for me. I'm always picky on what batches I accept. Miles driven, the amount of items shopped, and the overall payout are all important to me. A lot of my earnings are going towards a down payment for a house. My aunt, 37, is a notorious cheapskate, even if it affects other people providing services to her. She will pay what is required, service fees and cost of items, and not a penny more. This includes in restaurants. My mother and other family members are aware of her doing this, but enable it by covering up constantly, like slipping cash to the waitstaff behind her back. I absolutely refuse to go along with it. Not sure if this is relevant, but my aunt doesn't get around that well physically, weight and arthritis issues, so being on her feet for a long period of time is difficult for her. She called up my mother and asked if I was on Instacart. She said no, I was in the kitchen eating lunch. She said that she placed her first order excitedly, since first orders have a promotional deal. Mom asked me to log on and I did. I can see the map of where an address approximately is along with a few other things before accepting a batch. It was obvious which one was hers. I told my mom I wasn't taking it and that it was a terrible order. High amount of items, 115, a 15-mile round trip, and no tip. My mom went off on me saying that she's family and this should be an exception to my standards. I told her that no tip, no trip, and that was it. My aunt called my mom almost 30 minutes later whining that no one will take her order. I took the phone and told her that I saw the order and if she doesn't want to appropriately appreciate her shopper, then she can go get the items herself. With that said, I took a much better order and walked out. They are both mad at me and said I am a terrible person for how I handled things. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. First off, 115 items. Does she have a massive family that she's buying for? Because I can't imagine buying that many things in a single order. Secondly, no tip, no trip is both your prerogative and a smart business choice for yourself. Thirdly, your mother knows what your aunt is like and shouldn't want to subject you to that. She should definitely be prioritizing you over her sister. Fourthly, the fact that no one wanted to take her order demonstrates how bad it was. Not the idiot. It wasn't like you have a different rule for her than others. You don't accept orders with no tip. If your aunt wasn't a known cheapskate and the order had been reasonable, perhaps I would feel differently, but I saw Instacart people risking their lives shopping for seniors afraid to leave their homes during the pandemic. Most were people of color who were dying at a higher rate. They deserve a tip for that alone. You maybe could have handled this better, but she's clearly in the wrong, and I don't blame you feeling frustrated. I probably would have politely explained to her that the norm is to tip 20%, so if you aren't going to tip that much, no one will ever take your order. If she was still being a jerk after that, or trying to get you to do it for no tip, then I think you earned storm out privileges. That said, you were justifiably frustrated by her actions, so I can't really blame you for being upset with her and walking out. I, 51, recently went on a date with a 54. I knew he had 2 kids. While we were eating he tells me their ages, 32 and 3. That's a deal breaker to me. At my age with grown kids, 25 and 26, the last thing I want to be bothered with is a man with a toddler and all the potential drama. The mom is 30. I went on with the date because I was having fun. When it was over, I had every intention of letting things just fade away. Yes, I can be passive-aggressive. Well, he called a couple of days later wanting to go out again. I tried the whole "I'm not ready" thing, but he kept trying. Finally, I told him that the fact that he has a toddler is a deal breaker. Too much possible drama, and I am way too old for that, hint hint. He told me I was being hypocritical since I was a single mom. I said a single mom of 2 grown kids. He kept repeating himself and I kept repeating myself. Finally, I told him that having a baby at 51 shows a stunning lack of judgment that I don't need in my world. He was quiet for a minute, told me that was a messed up thing to say. He told me I should have told him that before he paid for my dinner and that it was an idiot move, then hung up. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Yes, he's allowed to have a young kid at his age and nothing is wrong with that. But it was a problem for OP and she tried letting go. He kept persisting while she kept trying to spare his feelings, and in the end, she told him could have been a better way, but a guy that can't take a clear hint can be frustrating. So she told him. It's her opinion and her dating life and future. She has grown kids and has already gone through that stage of life. She doesn't want to go through it again. That's her right. It would have been wrong for her to go forward and possibly have any negative emotions towards the child. Could she have did it a better way? Yes. And she tried but kept pushing. I would not want to get with him anyway, because if his ex is 30 now that means she was in her 20s. He was seeing a 20-year-old. I would not want a guy like that at your age group because I would worry he will leave when he meets another 20-year-old he can get with. You made the right decision. A guy like that would use you as a holding pattern until he gets a young one. You dodged a bullet. He also might be looking for someone to take care of the baby on his visitation time. Not the idiot. When someone tries to let you down gracefully and you keep pushing them for a better reason, then you need to be prepared to hear the truth. This man kept pushing you. Have you clearly told him you didn't want to go out again, and as a result he heard your real reason? So be it. And there is a world of difference between having young kids and grown kids. Plenty of people wouldn't want to take someone with young kids if they are done with that stage of their life. You did nothing wrong. Also, it's not hard to understand why the toddler's mother isn't with him. It's hard enough being a single mother of a 3-year-old without also having to manage a 54-year-old toddler who doesn't understand boundaries. I live in an apartment building with a communal yard for residents. The other buildings on the block are single-family houses. One of the nearby families lets their kids play in the apartment building yard, which is super weird because they have a yard. Anyway, on Saturday I had planned on throwing a BBQ party and had cleared it with everyone else in the apartment building. There are only 7 units, but when I went out to set up there were a bunch of random kids, ranging in age. Some were the neighbors' kids. I asked them if they lived here and none of them did. I asked them if any of them were invited by someone who lives here, and one kid said their mom said they could play here. I asked if their mom lives here. I know she doesn't. None of the other renters have kids or young relatives in the area. The kid said no. I said that I do live here, and just like how I couldn't show up in their house not knowing anyone and not invited by anyone to hang out, they couldn't do that at my place. I said that there was a park a little walk away that is a public space they could go to, but they couldn't stay at someone's home unless they are invited. The kids left to presumably go to the park and I started the party, then a couple came by looking for their kids. My friends were confused saying that they had the wrong house, nobody here has kids. The neighbor said the kids were here and my friends were confused, saying that they definitely didn't have any kids around and that we were having a 21+ party. I overheard this confusion and came by to say that a bunch of kids were around earlier, but they didn't live here or know anyone who lived here, so I told them to head out. The parents asked where they were and I said I didn't know, maybe the park. The parents were upset with me because they had sent their kids to play with my weird neighbor's kids, and the weird neighbor told them that the kids would be playing in the public area behind my apartment. I said sure, but I think the neighbors were mistaken, my apartment doesn't have a public area. And so even if the neighbors said the kids could play there, they were mistaken. The parents were angry with me for kicking kids out to go somewhere unsupervised and unknown without talking to any parents. I should have asked the neighbors to come get their kids, instead of being like y'all can go to the park or something. I said, I didn't have time for that, I was already busy and inconvenienced, since I'd worked with all my neighbors to make sure I could host a party in the yard that is for residents, to find some randos who don't even live here hanging out in my space. The parents went looking for their kids and they didn't come back, so I don't know what happened there. Am I the idiot for kicking the kids out of my apartment's yard without telling their parents? Not the idiot. The parents were in the wrong for sending their kids onto someone else's private property. You were also nice about it. Perhaps the parents were upset that you sent them to an area that was unsupervised, but on the other hand, they were sending their kids to your apartment yard, as if under the impression that you and your neighbors would watch them. Of course, this might be a difficult situation for someone like me to understand. When I was a child, we get up in the mornings on weekends or summer vacation, feed ourselves breakfast, take off on our bikes, and no one expected us home until dinner time. If we did that today, my neighbors would be calling CPS on our parents. You were well within your rights to send them away. If the parents want to know where their kids are, maybe a parent should be supervising them. The only other thing you maybe could have done, depending on the kids' ages, would be to call security, the police or CPS to report the issue. Sounds extreme, I know, but if the parents are letting their kids run around amongst a bunch of strangers unsupervised, at your apartment, and wherever else they roam, that is a huge safety issue, and it should be addressed by someone with the proper authority. No idiots here. If the kids aren't supposed to be using the green space made available for residents like yourself, then it's fine to tell them they need to go play elsewhere. But it's also completely understandable that concerned parents would be upset that their kids aren't where they're supposed to be. For reference, if the kids aren't teenagers, it's probably best to either encourage them to head home or tell the kids to talk to their parents before playing elsewhere, instead of just telling them to play in a different spot.